Morning and welcome to episode 10 of the Bea and Rose podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. Hello. Any new subscribers, thank you for subscribing. I think the numbers have gone up again this week, which is really exciting, and I don't know if it's because I've posted a cheeky link in the Winwick Mum Facebook page or what, but anyway, hi, I'm glad that you're here. And to old timers, thank you for coming back and you know, providing that weekly boost to my self-esteem and lifting my cortisol levels just a little bit as the winter approaches. Anything will make it better. I normally hate autumn. Everybody gets dead excited and looks at all of the lovely crunchy leaves, and all I see is like dead things. And I know the leaves are falling off because new buds are forming. However, I'll wait until spring before I get overly excited about that. This kind of period of time is just a straight line of misery for me. I've got one of those sad lamps, but I don't think it could be big enough to actually make any difference, especially when you work in a shed and it's generally pretty dark. So, you know, yeah, let's start this off on a positive note. I don't feel as though I've got that much to talk about this week. I haven't done... I don't feel like I've made very much progress because everything I'm knitting on seems to be quite big, and I think I need to get my head around the fact that if I'm doing a podcast I need to have little things as well, otherwise there's nothing really to show you, is there? I think it's probably going to be the 6th week that I've shown it, well, not that long, but nearly, that I've shown you these two babies behind me. Yes, once again I am joined by my headless friends. Aren't they a fine pair? I'll talk about what they're wearing later. Actually, I should give them names and personality, shouldn't I? I have made a couple of Christmas presents. Well, I finished them off because they were loitering in the bottom of a basket that I came across when I tidied out the pit. That is the hole under the stairs in the hallway. When we moved in, it had a door on it, and in my wisdom I took the door off it, thinking it would be better to be used as just storage, or maybe put the computer in there. It's just as bad as it was with the door on, but now that the door's not on, anyone that comes to the house can just see straight into it, and it's like a portal to another dimension. It is rank. I had to take one of the lights out so I could do the podcast, and it was tangled up in that many bits of wool that it was like it was being dragged back into the hole by the creature from Fever Swamp. It was like a Goosebumps episode. It was quite tragic, and I will never tidy it out because 2 days later it'll be in the same position as it is now, and it just feels like a waste of your life sometimes, doesn't it? These bits of your house that you tidy and you think, why am I doing this to myself? Why is it relevant? I'll just put a curtain up, which is what I've done. I've got a nice bit of Cathkidston fabric, but the kind of the shape, it's kind of triangular like this, and I didn't realise in my infinite sewist wisdom that to make the curtain not hang funny I wouldn't just make a straight curtain. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I may be, but I don't think I will be, unless you're lying. So yeah, it just hangs on a funny angle. I'm not really painting a very nice picture of the hole under the stairs, am I? But then it's not a very nice place. It's the stuff of nightmares. And you know those kits that you get with the presser studs in them? At least 2 of those have like tipped on their head in there, and they're just all over. They're all over the place, and I can't handle it. I need to shut the curtain and just pretend that it doesn't exist, and I can do that, which is quite handy. I think that's one of the traits of an anal personality, isn't it? Everything that you see has to be fine and alright, otherwise you lose the plot. But then behind the scenes and in your drawers, it's just decay and minging. Yeah, I've got that down to a T. Anyway, shall we crack on with the knitting? I'll show you first of all the Christmas presents that I've made. Just dig through this pile of stuff. One of them is this here cowl, and it's a bit rustic, shall we say, but I spun it myself using fibre from Spin City. It was an art bat, and it's got big bits of silk noir, or not, I don't know how you say it, in it, and bits of sea cell and faux cashmere, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I applied this with some John Arbon merino and silk, and it's really lovely. It's so soft, and I'm going to give this to Emma. It needs washing and it needs blocking, and it's a bit dusty, and to say that I'm hopeless at sewing things up is an understatement. This be my shameful seam. Oh, isn't that awful? So I probably am going to take that out. I'm reluctant to do it because I've never yet seen her wear anything that I've made for her, but I'm such a resentful bad friend, but I can't be all like Julie Andrews about stuff, you know. I need a reason to be positive, and she isn't giving me the feedback that I need. So anyway, I think I will take that out just for my own self-esteem and do it properly. I saw a lovely tutorial about mattress stitch, and I've never done that. I normally just avoid anything flat and only ever knit in the round. And I think that's because in a knitting group a couple of years ago, Alison said to me when I was trying to knit flat things, maybe I should just stick to textured garments because I wasn't really very good at it. I've defied her. I haven't just stuck to textured garments, but I haven't knitted anything else in the flat. I'm just looking at my hair. I'm channeling my inner 12-year-old here. I went to the hairdressers yesterday and said, can I have a graduated bob please, with a nice deep fringe? And I came out looking 12. I guess I should be happy to be look 12, but you know, I'd rather look 24 or even 30. But I'll get used to it, I suppose it'll grow. I think it's because every time I go to the hairdressers, I'm delusional about how long and how thick my hair is. So I'll go in with pictures and ideas, and they must be just like, oh, here she comes again with that thin, short hair, expecting us to change the laws of physics and to be able to make our hair longer so that we can cut it into these random styles. And I always like brown hair, which is generally thicker than my hair anyway, so... Anyway, it's done, it's tidy, and the ends aren't quite as split as they were after I tried to dye it grey and it went bright blue, so I ended up putting about 75 different colours on it. I thought it would be cheaper and just better to do it myself, when actually it would have just been a completely different, totally better experience had I have gone to the hairdressers in the first place. We live and learn though, eh? I'll do it again, I have no doubt. So yes. I think the yarn is just gorgeous, and I did it in a chunky spin. I didn't try to make it be anything that it wasn't, because I thought I would fail due to the bat being so textured. And I bought this, oh, do you know what, I bought this at Woolfest, not the year gone but the year before. So yeah, I've had it quite a while, haven't I? And it's lovely. I'm glad it's going to be used anyway, and I hope she likes it. It should fit over her little head quite nicely. And I've finished this as well, and I dyed it. I didn't speckle dye it, I just kind of dripped dye onto it, but in colours that didn't make brown. You know, I can't remember what it is. I think it's raindrops or something, but I'll get the link and I'll put it at the bottom of this section like I usually do, so you'll have to write it down really quickly before it disappears. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Oh, I need to talk about them, don't I? So it's a really pretty pattern, apart from the massive hump in the middle of it. Now, since knitting this, I have discovered from knitting one of Helen Stewart's patterns that it's better to start off with small needles at first so that you get less of a hump. People don't mind the hump. I really mind the hump. I think it's awful. Turn it round, Faye. Oh no, that's the right way, isn't it? It just makes the shape all wrong, especially if you wear it bandana style and you've got this random bit. You lose quite a bit of length off your shawl. I mean, look, if I try to get it to sit straight, there's loads got to come off there. So yeah, I find that really frustrating. So now whenever I do anything, I tend to do my Helen Stewart's thing and use a smaller needle at the top. And even blocking it doesn't get rid of the hump. I've seen posts on Facebook, how do I get rid of this? You just can't, it's just there, isn't it really? But it's a pretty pattern, and this is 100% alpaca, and it feels beautiful. But this on me, I really don't like wearing alpaca because it's so heavy and so warm, and it's you know, and it makes beautiful shawls and scarves so long as they're not too intricate, because the weight of the actual yarn can kind of make it, I don't know what word I'm trying to use, what does it do? Makes it go out of shape. It's not that difficult, is it? Finding the words. But it's quite a nice pattern. And typically with me, even though it was just lots of yarn overs, I made lots of mistakes because yarn overs get me every time. They're not in any order. I think they're meant to kind of be in some kind of a logical order, all the little raindrops falling down the scarf, but they're just not. You know, when I set up this morning, I got the lighting so that, hi, I should probably switch off there. That's a bit brighter, isn't it? I got the lighting so that it looked great and everything was like equally lit, and then as soon as I switched the camera on to do the filming, this half is really dark and this half is really bright. The window's there. I'll be back. I don't think that's made any difference, has it really? I need acreage. I obviously need more room in my shed. Yeah. Yarn over shawl. Love it. I'll find out what it is. And then it took days. Really didn't take very long. Fingering weight yarn, probably 3.5 needles, but you could do it on bigger needles and it would just be more drapey. So yes, I do like alpaca for other people, but I don't like alpaca for me. And I find it makes my hands really itchy as well when I'm using it. It's got a nice halo. If you can see it, probably not. But I think Emma will just appreciate it enough to put it in our drawer with everything else I've ever knitted her. She's got a lovely hand spun sweater that I made for her last year. And I need to ask for it back so I can show it on the podcast and pretend that I've been really productive when I haven't. Yeah, and talking about the shed has reminded me I should tell you about where I am on the interweb, shouldn't I? Internet, what? I don't know. I'm filming from the shed again, which for anybody who's just tuned in, it is at the top of my garden. I live in a tiny little semi-detached house with my husband, my 3 girls, our 3-legged cat. Doesn't mean she takes up any less room because she still has a full body. And our yappy, annoying dog, who's sometimes quite cute, but she loves Mark more than me, so yeah, I've got a bit of resentment going on. And I work as I make baby carriers for a living. I get, if you've ever seen people wearing their baby in a big long wrap, they send their wrap to me and I turn it into a carrier that has straps or buckles, and it's great. I've been doing it for 8 years, which is a long time to be sewing stuff, the same thing again and again. But I'm really lucky because I've got this lovely sewing shack at the top of the garden. I think it's 12 by 12. We bought it. The people from the garden centre came to put it up. It's just a perfectly normal shed. Then my dad and I insulated it with wool. Thanks sheep. And then we put this corkboard stuff, don't know what it is, it's like brown and woody, over the top of the insulation, and got some guy to come and put 20 million plug holes in. And it's great. And I've got some quite nifty daylight light bulbs, but when I have the lighting set up to do the podcast, they kind of block out the light from the light bulbs. Yeah, so that's where I am. I'm in the shed. It gets really hot in summer and really cold in winter, but I've got a nice little oiled filled radiator. Mark had it at university and it didn't suffer any injuries whatsoever. Then as soon as I got it, it's like got bits bashed off it. Why does that happen? Why? I don't know. I don't even know how I did it. Anyway, yes, and we live in Durham, which is in the northeast of England. And we've got Durham Cathedral. So we've got lots of PhD students in the city studying theology, which is nice because we have a good cultural mix, rather than in the Durham villages where you've just got 8th generation white people and there's just, yeah, that's it really. That's all it ever will be as well, because they're not being regenerated or anything. Anyway, waffle. What am I on about? Right, so you can find me on Ravelry, Sylviebea, Sylviebea, Instagram and Etsy as Bea_and_Rose, and Facebook is Bea and Rose, and I think that's it. Okay, so they were finished objects. I might now show you my hose. I have a couple. Well, I've got 3. This little beauty, I've been doing a knit along on my Ravelry group page, which is just, I think if you go look for groups, it's Bea and Rose on Ravelry. Yeah, we did a knit along for a slip stitch sock, and we were getting a bit worried because with having the slip stitches in the front, the sock had turned into like a banana, and it's like we were making socks for our packed lunch. And you see how it naturally has kind of an instep shape, actually, doesn't it, because of the banana-ificness of it, the banana arm sock. So what I did, I put an afterthought heel in, which was the point of the tutorial, to do a true afterthought heel, and that was all great, loved doing that. And then I added some short rows to the front of my sock, but all that happened, I would have been fine without them, because all that happened after putting the short rows in, I think I did about 5 or 6. Worked it out all proper and everything on a bit of paper with my pen and counted. Aren't I clever? Did some short rows at the top, and now it's a tiny bit longer at the front than what it is at the back. And my rib, I haven't blocked it or anything, but this this stretchy cast off is really stretchy, isn't it? And hi, and it kind of needs to be, because I wouldn't be able to get it off otherwise, but it does look quite messy. So yes, and this yarn is just utterly gorgeous. It's River Knits, of course, because they seem to be my favourite and my best. It's Blueface Leicester with nylon, and it's the mermaid colourway. And I hope, if I just do my other sock quite short, I just need to have some left over for a random future project. It's gorgeous. It's not a messy cake. It's covered in bits of fluff off my fibre as well. I think I'd rather have a yarn cake as a head sometimes. You could knit yourself. Look, ooh, yeah, maybe, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. I was going to talk about the lady doing the art installation piece where she knits with wool for a month. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. If you do, say aye. Right, so yeah, Bonnie, I love it. I love it. The colours are just lovely, and you can see that they put loads of time and effort into dyeing the yarn, because that's not just one layer of colour. They've been in the pot more than once, and isn't that lovely? Normally when I do an afterthought heel, I do the cut, I pick up the stitches, and then I do, what do? I knit 3 rounds because I've got high instep and I want a little bit more room. Not that 3 rounds gives us loads more room, like, but it does the trick. And then I do knit 1, knit 2 together, go to the end, slip, slip, knit, knit 1, then knit 1, knit 2 together, slip, 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 blah blah. But I did, what did I do differently? I did something differently and I can't remember what. Yeah, I did an extra knit 1 in between the decreases. Sorry. Yeah, I did an extra knit 1 in between the 2 decreases. This camera is the first thing I've spoken to properly today. The only other conversation that I haven't had was with the kids this morning, and that wasn't a conversation. It was just about, where's the hairbrush? Anybody know where the hairbrush is? Annabelle, where are your shoes? Has everybody cleaned their teeth? And that was it for about an hour. Honestly, little tinkers. So yes, I've done an additional knit 1, and I love it. Look at the lovely shapes that the stitches make. I love these little bits here. It's like, you know, when you do the double decrease on a chevron, you get the lovely stitch shape in the middle. Yeah, and the slip stitch I think is quite effective, and obviously you don't need a pattern for it. You just cast on your normal number of stitches, then you turn it to like a maths wizard and you count up to about 6, and you just slip 1, knit 2, slip 1. I think I've got 6 slip stitches, and slip the stitch by slipping into the back of the loop, and on the next round you do exactly the same thing. Now slip 1 purlwise, not slip into the back of the loop. So you do 2 rounds of slipping 1 purlwise, and that gives you the nice little bit of, I like the way it brings the colour up from the toe for using a contrast tool. And then you do 1 round where you knit your slip stitches into the back of the loop. So that's row 3, and then you start again and again and again and again and again. And obviously if you want the slip stitches to go right the way around, there's nothing to stop you from doing that, but I think it would make the fabric a bit tight. Because essentially it's like what you do on I don't know which heel it is, but the reinforced heel where you slip stitches, it's the same kind of thing. So it does give you quite a firm fabric. I don't know how comfortable that would be, but when you're doing the afterthought heel, all you have to bear in mind is that if you want a pattern that goes all of the way around, you can only do it on the instep. Is the instep the top of your sock? Let's stick with the top of your sock. Only do it on the top of your sock, it is, isn't it? Until you get to the length where you're going to cut your heel in. Otherwise you're going to have pattern on the bottom of your foot, and I think that would be a bit uncomfy. And look at the shape of that. I love the way the heel just sticks out. It looks like some kind of alien. Or like a dragon. It's the Loch Ness monster. Look at the size of that. I love having big feet, it's great. You can see lots of shoe. Right, so that one I'm going to class as a whole half finished object because I have done only 1. Oh, I think I'll keep me sock blocker for later. Oh, it's all gone horribly wrong. And then this is one, I'd say I designed it, but I actually got the stitches out of the Up Down All Around Stitch Dictionary. And this is called the Autumn's Journey sock. I have had it test knitted, which highlighted a couple of problems in that top down the pattern doesn't work. I think I've talked about this before. I thought I'd be dead clever, and I knit this pattern toe up, but I thought I'd put it out as a top down sock or a toe up. But then when the test knitters came to do it top down, it just did not work, and no matter what we did, we couldn't get the pattern to work top down. So it's a toe up with an afterthought heel, and it's really frustrating because I think that when you release a book with knitting patterns in them and pattern stitches, you should pretty well test them first, not just make money on something that's untested and basically wrong. It's very frustrating. It works beautifully toe up. I'll take it off this thing because you can't really see it. And for this I've used, and it's lovely. It is lovely. It's quite a long pattern repeat, so it's not particularly memorable. So it's one for sitting in the house with, not for... Oh, it's not going to work, is it? I'll have to show you that way. You couldn't take it to the pictures and knit on it. Oh, sorry. Right, so it's got like this line going up the middle, which I quite like because it's wavy. And I've used the Coop Knits colour for the toe and for the heel. I'll have to check out which one it is. Another one of my random... This was a club yarn. But it was a bit muckier than what I would have liked it to be, so I kept this one and set the rest out. I think it might be Summer Breeze, I'm not sure. One of the club yarns anyway from my Speckle Club. So yeah, and I will put that on Ravelry hopefully before Christmas, but it's doing me head in. I can't figure out how to do it. I did it with the Bonnie Lass socks, but I've got these ones, the Sylvie socks, I've got Hoovian and another twisted cable sock. They could all be on Ravelry. People could be quite happily knitting away, but I'm too stupid. I can't figure out how to do it. And I met Vicky Bird for coffee yesterday, and I should have asked her to show me, and I completely forgot because I was too busy panicking that I only had £2 in my purse and I'd taken Apple Pay off my phone. There you go. Right, and this is more than a half finished object. This, I'm so disappointed because I finished one of the heels and then I was like, oh, finished. And then I realised that I still had the other blooming heel to do. So this is River Knits again. I won't buy yarn that's been dyed by other people unless I really love it, because I can do my own, so what's the point? Oh, it'd be helpful if I didn't keep dropping it, wouldn't it? Oh man, I can't get it on me jobby. Hang on a minute. It's alive. I love giving you views at the top of my head. That light bulb's actually quite hot. Hope I'm not singeing. Right, so this time, people, this time it will be on the sock blocker, which I bought from Lopi in London, by the way. They were quite expensive. I think it was £22, but they're nice and they do the job. And I was feeling a bit flash. Right, so again, I've done a true afterthought heel because it is my favourite and my best. Not that I've really tried very many. And this is, that one's got a lump on it. I'll show you this one instead. It looks like I'm more clever than I am. This is this Rusty Tomato colourway, River Knits, Blueface Leicester and nylon. And this is the giant Indian squirrel or Indian giant squirrel, whatever it is. I'll make a note of it below instead of basically making it up and getting it wrong. Yeah, you should be able to see it a bit better. It's lovely. It's very autumnal. I did quite a bit of this. It just flew. It went really, really quickly. I've used 2.5 needles instead of 2.25 for a change because I just wanted it to be big and fast. I just wanted to finish them really so that I could wear them. But I'm still not finished because I forgot that I hadn't put the heel in. But that won't take long. Yeah, I went for a walk with the dog. I had her out for 2 hours, not yesterday, the day before, and in that amount of time I did absolutely loads on the leg, and it was lovely to walk around and knit. It just kept me, instead of feeling like I had to get home and do stuff and whatever, I was quite happy to stay out for quite a long time. So the dog had a lovely time and so did I. This is just a superb sock yarn. I love Blueface Leicester. Blueface Leicester. I love that it's a British yarn from British sheep, supporting industry where we are, because God knows what's going to happen after Brexit. I think we're all going to have to make more of an effort to shop at home, aren't we, because we'll be barred from all of the other countries. Oh dear me. Yeah, so I would buy this again, and I'm really disappointed that I didn't go to the Kendall wool gathering last weekend. However, finances and time made it not possible, and I didn't want to be in the car for like 2 hours. It was just too traumatic. And I'm thinking of that as well about Nottingham Yarn Expo, which is not this weekend but next. I'd love to go, but then I haven't saved any pennies, and it'll take about 2 3/4 hours to get there, and with 5 of us in a Fiat Panda, it's like a fiasco. It's pretty traumatic. I don't know if my mental health can take it. Yeah, I'd have to wire the kids up to some kind of in-car entertainment mechanism, and I just haven't, yeah, whatever. So I don't think it would be good, but I would really like to. And then other than that, all I have to show you are things that I've already shown you. Boyle and Knit Your Work, Sunset Highway. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I have done a little bit more, but not much. Sylvie's got really long arms. She's like monkey girl. So I'm just going to have to keep knitting and knitting and knitting forever. I've measured it up against her, and I'm still about 4 inches short. Look at the length of it, unless it's just like the sleeve demon. But I still love it. It's gorgeous. I'm still really enjoying it. And the other stuff that I'm knitting is quite chunky, so it feels really good to come back to smaller needles. These are higher sharps interchangeables that I bought from Ginger Twist Studio in Edinburgh. They're 3.5mm, and they're lovely. I love the fixed interchangeables, the fixed higher sharps, but I like the interchangeables as well. That shape, just, I find it quite pleasing. What? And then my friends, they're wearing the flea cardigan, Lopi. I don't know how to say it. And I made a bit of a boob with this last time because I said that I was making it from Jameson. No, I did. I said I was making it from the Jameson and Smith yarn, which I was. But I didn't realise that there was a difference between Jameson and Smith and Jameson's of Shetland, if that's even what it's called. And I couldn't understand when I was looking at Jameson and Smith why I couldn't buy the Spindrift. And when I went to Lucy Locketland to buy this wool, she did tell me that there was a split in the family. So the 2 brothers have both got yarn companies, but they're both very different, even though the names are virtually the same. I mean, change them. It's so selfish. It's so confusing for those of us with limited capacity. So yeah, I've done quite a bit more of this, but I'm a bit bored. Even though I've done the smallest size. Oh, come on lady, get in there. You're comfy. I feel like a 1970s television presenter doing this. It's terrible what's going on at the minute, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, I keep having this political commentary and I should just shut up. So this is where it'll be steeped at the front to put the button bands in. Beautiful. And do you know what I'm worried about? I'm knitting the body up. I need to put a progress keeper in because it does seem to be going very slowly. And I'm already worrying about knitting the sleeves because I know that they're going to take forever, especially with the magic loop. And I've made a few mistakes, but you know, who knows? Who cares? Nobody can see it. And it feels lovely. So this is the Jameson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight that I bought at Lucy Locketland. It's not Spindrift, which I think was mentioned on the pattern. I just love it. It's really fuzzy and it doesn't make me ill, unlike the Lopi, which I'll talk about now. This, I love this so much. Hang on. I'll take it off. I'll take it off there and show you anyway. I love it, but I'm really allergic to the wool. Oh, it's just devastating because I've not got that much left to do. I've got one sleeve finished. The other one I've already started on and it's kind of half finished. The body's totally done. But when I pick it up after a few minutes, I can feel my chest getting really tight. And then I have a whole, you know, last episode I was on about having a bad cold. It wasn't. It was a Icelandic sheep reaction in my mucous membranes, and it was all a bit grim. So I'm just reluctant to touch it because I know that I'm allergic to it. And even taking antihistamines doesn't seem to make any difference. So I need to try and find somebody to be like a friend and to finish it off for me. But the friends that I have got can't knit. And the other people that I know, I wouldn't ask them to knit it for me because we're not there yet, you know. On the sliding scale of friendship, we're not at the point where I would ask them to finish off my jumper. but we'll see. Maybe Saran will do it. I'll swap it for tricks and favours. We'll see. So anyway, it is what it is. It's still there, and I've still done nothing with the Holts Garn, but it is still very beautiful. And I have it kind of on this wooden tray with the pattern. It's not good. So then I can just whenever I feel inclined, I'll be able to just pick it up and crack on with it. But I'm scared now. I'm scared that I'm going to be allergic to it, because it's not very nice, the reaction that I have to that. I washed it in a little bit of wool wash of some kind, and then I put some fabric conditioner on it, but it just hasn't made any difference. I actually washed the balls of wool as well, and it feels softer. It does feel different, but it doesn't feel different when it's in my lungs. And it's so hairy that it is actually like knitting a cat. So I think it's just the hairiness of it, but it's such a shame. I don't know if I can get it round here. I'll have a go, because the pattern is just gorgeous. Wait a minute. Let's do this thing. Right, this is Diane. She actually has a name. I need to make her a little bit shorter. Oh, hello. Yeah. So the pattern itself is just lovely, and I've got it on. This is the back, because on the front of mine, I'm going to stick it in it. Well, somebody else is going to stick it in made into a cardigan, so I put that at the back. But this is the front, and you can see when it's on my lovely chesty lady that it's just gorgeous. Oh, can I zoom out? Let's see if this is something that I can do. No, I can zoom in. I can't zoom out. Limitations, people. So yeah, knit it. It's gorgeous. It's in the 2nd edition of the Lane magazine. It's absolutely stunning. It's dead easy, and it's really quick. And if you're not allergic to the wool, it won't kill you. However, I think it's going to give me some kind of PE or something, and I can't be chowed with that. So I need to find a way. I have the will, I just need to find a way. And other than that, I've joined a knit along, by the same designer, Love, Wool Knit Love. Is it Jennifer Steingass? I'll have to double check, it's a bit embarrassing. For the arboreal sweater. But because I can't, it's colour work on the yoke, but because of the reaction that I've had to the Lopi, I've been really scared about buying anything that's pure wool. So check these out. I like big balls, and I cannot lie. How big are they? Woohoo! This is Robin's. It's 25% wool, 75% yeah, let's not be yarn snobs, people. Just get a grip. It feels lovely. You can machine wash it gently at 40 degrees, which is like just going to be revolutionary in our house, because it means Mark can't felt it. And I'm knitting it for me, so it's going to have to be very large, which is quite scary. But in the pattern, I've gone up a needle size from what's suggested in the pattern, and I've also gone up a yarn size. I think the pattern's knitted in double knitting, and I'm using Aran weight, and you can see that it's starting to develop. Well, you can see a very tiny amount that I've done that it's starting to develop. But I think when it comes to splitting for the sleeves, I think I'm going to have about 321 stitches, which isn't that bad, is it? Yeah, and I like the dark colour. I think it's going to be. My shoulder is really bad at the minute, so I'm not knitting at all. So I don't know if there'll be a podcast next week. The camera's going to switch off. Why does it do this? Hang on, I'll do it first. There, I beat it out of spite. Oh, camera. I don't know why it does it. I'm not reading the book. I'll just have to put up with it. Or read the book. So you can see that the pattern's starting to develop, and there is a note on the pattern that tells you about yarn dominance. So, main colour hold in your right hand, contrast colour hold in your left hand. And initially, because I do two like that, initially I did it the other way around, and you can really tell. So if I pull it apart, you can you see the white bits underneath, but then on the bottom, come on the bottom bits it's fine, because I've done it properly, done what I was told should have done in the first place. I'm not going to rip it back, because I'll lose motivation to knit it. It's the first thing that I've made for me in a long time. The last thing I did was like a sideways gilet type thing, and I knitted it in Rowan tapestry. and it went in the washing machine. I think I spent about 75 quid on the wool, and it was very, very beautiful, but wasn't particularly flattering. But I'm thinking with this, because I'm going to steek it, I've done 7 steek stitches, which I've done the neck as dictated by the pattern, which is just a little few rows. Then I joined in the round after I'd knit the neck, and I've added in 7 stitches, so I've got 1 purl, 5 knit, 1 purl, and I'll do the button bands on the purl stitches, and I'll do the steek up the middle. Hang on. Yeah, so I'll do the steek up the middle of that stitch, all being well, and I don't appear to be allergic to it. Hurrah! You'd think 100% wool or 25% wool that it would still have some kind of an effect, wouldn't you? But this has probably been that process that anything remotely natural has been stripped from the guts of it, and it's just kind of, yeah, but I don't care. It's soft, it's washable, it will be fine. It's cost me about £28 to buy all of the yarn, because each of these huge double head size balls is 400 grams. It's quite difficult to work with though. I think I'm going to have to take it down a bit, otherwise it's just going to end up in a mess on the floor, or the cat will try to bury herself in it, which is alright in the black one but not in the white one. Yeah, and I am allergic to our cat as well, but I just don't touch her, whereas with the Lopi you kind of cannot avoid it. So that's it for the things that are on my needles, other than the jumper that I'm making for Mark that I showed you already, that I've got nothing else to say about. Was there anything else that I might have forgotten about? 500,000 pairs of socks that I've totally lost my sock mojo, so they're just not going to happen. But really, I think I've spent a bit of time spinning. I think it might be like a snood for the kids, you know, it's kind of like a cowl, but it's got a hood that you can, it hasn't got a hood, but you can wear it as a hood when it's really cold outside, if we want to take the dog to the beach and we don't want everybody to moan the second they get out of the car. That might be quite a good thing. Or I might just make something for me, because at least I know I won't twist about it if I've made it myself. It's really soft. I think it's definitely got silk in it. Merino, probably something a bit rustic and British as well, being Hilltop Cloud, or Welsh. Although I don't know if she uses Welsh wool, I've got no idea, I'll have to look. And my spinning's not great, look, I mean, look at the difference. That bit there's really fine, and then the other bits are kind of graduated into layers of chunkiness, but it doesn't matter, does it? If you're just knitting something for pleasure and if you're enjoying doing it, then it's fine, but I love that. And I think the girls will like it because they like pink. They are very gender stereotyped when it comes to colour, which is obviously our fault because it doesn't happen through nature, it happens through nurture. C'est la vie. And I've got this, which is another Hilltop Cloud. It's a gradient. Now I've spun 2 packets of it, which are 200 grams, and I've done it quite fine. And this is the 3-ply yarn that I've got from it, and I think that this will be quite nice for making socks with. It's Corriedale, silk, something else, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of merino. So it's going to be really strong, and I've done it with a very high twist, and I've really enjoyed spinning this. I'm trying to think what I watched. Oh, I think it was called The Girlfriend Experience. I think I watched that while I was spinning this. Oh, it's a bit rude. Yeah, but it kept me entertained while I did the spinning. And I decided to do some spinning because my shoulder was hurting really badly, which is so annoying. After we'd gone to Yarndale, I found that I didn't sleep on this side for a few nights, and it made a huge difference, and I could do my ninja knitting again, but I've been kind of progressively, I've been in denial that it's got worse, so now I'm going to have to stop. I need to stop for a while. So after the podcast, I'm going to leave everything in the shed. I'm not going to take it in the house. I need to stop for a while until this gets better. Otherwise, it might just never get better, and how depressing would that be? I can't imagine a life without knitting in it. It's kind of like my lifeline at the minute. And what am I wearing? What am I wearing? This, you might shout me out for complete sacrilege, but this is the Sprites Fed shawl by Helen Stewart. And look at all the colours on it. That doesn't happen when you do your knitting, does it? Heck no. I knitted this using Hedgerow Fibres Singles yarn. that was speckle dyed and was really, really lovely, but it was quite light colours. It was kind of like greeny speckles and stuff, and I wanted something a bit darker to go with my winter shenanigans, so I just put it in the pot with some purple dye, and I love it. I loved it before, but I like it more now. It's more my colours now, I think. I don't know what I was doing buying such a light yarn. I think I just got overexcited, but yes, that's that. Oh, I was going to talk briefly about this book, Top Down Sweaters, because it's brilliant. When you first have got it in our library actually, so there might be one near you. It's got all of the plans in, or recipes for different kinds of sweaters that you can knit in the round. So you've got a yoke, raglan sweaters, set-in sleeve and saddle shoulder. Who knew there were so many different things you could do when you're knitting in the round? And it's great for a basic introduction in how to actually figure out what you're doing with your knitting. It kind of shows you how to measure your gauge, look at the yarn that you're using. Come on, camera. Look at the yarn that you're using, measure your gauge, do a swatch, because you're not knitting from like a standard pattern. See how many stitches that you have per inch, and then look at how big you want something to be. So if you want something to be, it's really dark, isn't it? If you want something to be 10 inches in the round, then you need to kind of do your magical maths and come up with your sum. And it works. Why wouldn't it? It's really good. So you've got your own choice of needle size, your own choice of yarn thickness, which means that you can basically make up your own garments, and then you can add in colour work. So I'm just going to show you one page because it doesn't show you any kind of magical thing. This is what a page looks like, which is quite intimidating until you read it and you really digest what it's telling you to do. And it's cool because for example for the yoke sweater, it'll tell you in your gauge. Obviously if you've got a really quirky gauge and it's not in the book, you're kind of stuffed, but it'll tell you for your gauge what you have to, oh, isn't that canny? Dead chunky wool. It'll tell you how many you have to cast on, and then it's just using a standard, I think it's a pie type recipe. You're knitting a pie to get your increases to do your yoke based on kind of your gauge, your stitches per inch, which is super. Yeah. And it's got different sizes as well. Obviously you might have to size it up a little bit more, but you can work it out. It's you know, it's good for me because not being any way, shape or form a standard size. 54-inch chest wouldn't fit me. I'd have to make it bigger, but I can just look and work out kind of doing, or give it a mark, and you do a spreadsheet, work out how many, you know, just add it up from there, and it makes it easy. And obviously you can work your own colour work patterns as well into that, which is quite nice. And I have found, I will say, I have found that colour work on the Aran, I was a bit naive. Normally, I can't show you, can I? But on the back of the flea cardigan, I never have any floats. I always capture the floats knitting with two hands. I find it really easy. But with the Aran, what I'm discovering is that it's much better to have floats. So I think the longest float I had was 5 stitches, and it's much better just to still knit with two hands but get my tension right and carry the float for 5 stitches. Whereas if I was using a finer yarn, I would probably catch it in on stitch number 3. It makes it go really, it's not good. You need to leave your floats a bit longer to give, kind of, to have more give. I think it's with the yarn being so thick, it just makes it far too dense and it can't move around as much as it needs to. Anyway, so yes, that's where I'm currently with that. And also I went for another biopsy on boob number 1 on Tuesday, and it was bloody awful. It was completely different to last time. I think the last time what they did was a needle biopsy, and this time it was a core biopsy. And when I came out, I just needed to have a slice of cake and a good cry. It didn't hurt. I wouldn't hate to put anybody off from going to have it done. Obviously it can be life-saving, but it was just it was a very intense experience. So if you're going to have it done, take somebody with you and make sure that you can have a good cry after if you need to, just to get all the cortisol out of your eyeballs, all the stress. It's meant to be quite good for stress relief, isn't it? So I'm waiting for a phone call to go to the hospital and have a discussion with a consultant about what they find, because apparently, changes the story every time you speak to somebody different, doesn't it? Apparently they do think that the majority of what they found was fat necrosis, but there's still stuff in the milk ducts that they couldn't identify from the last biopsy, which is why they've done this one. What I've decided to do though is just to completely ignore what everybody says. And I'm doing this because when I was pregnant with Sylvia, I had a deep vein thrombosis, and when I went to A&E, the doctor said, you'll lose your leg or you'll lose your baby, and it was like major panic stations. When actually what happened was absolutely nothing other than I had to inject blood thinners. Great, absolutely fine. So I realised at that point and on reflection that the medics do not work in isolation. It's a team event, so they'll have their discussion and then they'll come to a conclusion together. So I think it's really important not to listen to the words of one person who is looking at your situation in complete isolation. You need to just wait until the final call and then you'll know what's going on. Yeah, so that's that. And I think that's it. If you have any questions or any suggestions about things that you'd like to see on the podcast, then let me know. I'll open a thread on the Bea and Rose Ravelry page. We did have a knit along for the susurration socks that Vicky Bird had designed, and Rualis, I think that's your username, you were the winner. You're the only one that finished any socks, lady. Well done. So yeah, I'll send some yarn out to you and I'll have to contact you to sort that out. Other than that though, that's it. So thank you for tuning in, and hopefully see you again next week if I have anything to show you. But if not, I might be able to nab some knitting from my friends. Toodaloo!